Welcome to all of you. My video today is titled The Relevance of Linguistics. In this video, I will talk about the importance of linguistics and the contributions of linguistics. So first of all, let me begin by saying that studying linguistics is relevant simply because language is central to communication, cognition, and culture. An understanding of linguistics therefore contributes to, firstly, enhancing communication. Secondly, contributing to social justice. Thirdly, preserving culture and knowledge. And fourthly, advancing technology. Today's video, we will discuss enhancing communication. How does an understanding of linguistics enhance communication? Well, first of all, it helps us to improve communication skills. Then it facilitates educators especially with language learning and teaching, and this in turn helps with communication for their students. And an understanding of linguistics facilitates cultural understanding, and in this way it helps with cross-cultural communication. With regard to social justice, an understanding of linguistics helps with language planning and policy and helps to combat discrimination and bias. With culture and knowledge, an understanding of linguistics helps with language documentation and builds historical understandings of language history. Then, in terms of advancing technology, an understanding of linguistics contributes towards NLP and information retrieval and extraction. So we will look particularly at enhancing communication in today's video. So let me go directly into that. The subsequent parts will be covered in other videos. In today's video, we will look at how understanding linguistics contributes to enhancing communication. First of all, let's understand the connection between language, communication, and linguistics. Language is a system of symbols, sounds, and written characters that has a role to play in communication. What is communication? It is the act of conveying information, ideas, and feelings. So if language is a system used for communication, it thus becomes a primary tool for communication because language provides a structured way to convey messages to one another. Language has a specific system with a set of rules, a set of vocabulary, and a set of sounds that people use to convey messages. Linguistics is the scientific study of languages that informs us about how languages work, how languages are learned, and how they change over time. The prime contribution of linguistics is thus in enhancing communication. By improving our communication skills, facilitating language teaching and learning, and building cultural understanding. So the primary contribution of linguistics is towards enhancing communication, simply because language is the primary tool for communication, and linguistics, being the scientific study of language, tells us how languages work and how they are learned and can be used effectively and appropriately for communication. So now let me go one by one. First of all, with improving the skills. Linguistics provides a deep understanding of how language works, and this directly translates to improved skills. For instance, let me give an example. Understanding syntax and morphology provides a better understanding of language structure. By understanding how sentences are structured, understanding the grammar rules, word order, phrase formation, we can construct clearer and more coherent messages. So this helps especially with writing, because cohesion and coherence is important in writing. Sentence writing, paragraph writing, and essay writing. It helps to avoid ambiguity and ensure that meaning is precisely and smoothly conveyed. So I have an example here of two sentences. So now, for a person writing a sentence before understanding of linguistics could be redundant and clunky when it is written in this way. He told me that he was going to the store, and then I told him that I would meet him there later after he was done. But with an understanding of linguistics, this sentence can be rephrased to be more concise and clear, demonstrating better use of pronouns and sentence structure. The sentence could be rephrased as, he said he was going to the store and I offered to meet him there later. So you see, with an understanding of linguistics, we got better understanding of language structure, and this helps us to improve our communication skills, and in this particular example, written communication. Let me give you another example here with regard to semantics and pragmatics. An understanding of semantic and pragmatics gives a deeper appreciation of meaning. Semantics is a study of meaning in language, while pragmatics examines how context influences meaning. These branches are crucial for accurate interpretation and for contextual awareness. For instance, with semantics, we understand the subtle difference between deny and refute. He denied the accusation means he said it wasn't true, but he refuted the accusation means he provided evidence to prove it false. So refute and deny, although similar in meaning, have a subtle difference in the meaning. And this distinction is crucial for legal and journalistic context. So an understanding of linguistics gives us an appreciation of meaning, a deeper appreciation of meaning. What about pragmatics? Pragmatics gives us a deeper appreciation of the use of formal and informal language according to context. Knowing when to say, could you pass the salt, please, which is polite and formal, versus pass the salt, which is a direct informal request, more appropriate for close friends, more appropriate for communicating between close friends. So an understanding of pragmatics gives us this kind of insights into when to use formal language and when to use informal language according to context. Pragmatics also helps us with implied meaning. If someone says it's a bit hot in here, they might not just be stating a fact, but actually making a subtle request or an informal request for the fan or the air conditioner to be switched on. So pragmatics gives us insights into implications or implied meaning. So this is another way in which communication skills gets enhanced with an understanding of linguistics. Next is facilitating language learning and teaching. An understanding of linguistics helps us to facilitate teaching and learning languages, simply because linguistics is the scientific inquiry of language and therefore becomes the scientific backbone for language education. And with language education, communication gets enhanced because it happens in the classroom between teachers and students. Applied linguistics, for instance, helps teachers or educators to develop better methods for language teaching and learning, to create curriculum and syllabus, design effective materials and tests, understand challenges that learners face and they themselves face, and also linguistics can inform language policy in education. Let me elaborate about how linguistics can help teachers develop better methods for teaching and learning. I take the example of phonetics and phonology. Teachers with this linguistic background can explain pronunciation difficulties systematically rather than just presenting them as arbitrary rules. So this deeper understanding helps teachers anticipate learner errors and design targeted exercises for teaching. For instance, a teacher knows that Japanese learners often struggle with R and L distinction in English because their native language doesn't differentiate these two phonemes in the same way. Instead of just drilling, the teacher can explain the articulatory differences and use minimal pairs when she teaches these phonemes. For instance, right versus light, to help learners perceive and produce the sounds correctly. With regard to sociolinguistics and pragmatics, teachers can equip learners with the ability to use language appropriately in different situations, understand cultural nuances, and navigate social interactions. So this goes beyond grammatical correctness and focuses on communicative competence, that is, communicating appropriately according to context. You see, teachers can teach students not just how to apologize, meaning saying I'm sorry, but also when to use different levels of formality when it comes to an apology. When do you say my deepest apologies versus please forgive me or I regret my actions? So these kind of expressions, the use of them will differ according to contextual situation. This is what you call communicative competence, using them appropriately in context. And sociolinguistics and pragmatics gives insights into how to use these expressions according to context. So other than just an apology, it can be any speech act or speech action, how to interrupt politely, how to give compliments appropriately, and so on. Other than teaching methods, insights into linguistics also helps teachers design effective teaching materials and assessments. For example, linguistics involves contrastive analysis and error analysis as part of second language acquisition. How it helps is by systematically comparing the learner's native language with the target language, teachers can predict areas of difficulty and analyze learners' errors, the actual errors, to understand their underlying causes. So this helps teachers design better materials for teaching, preparing for remedial instruction, and also syllabus design. For instance, I put the example with regard to Spanish. Knowing that Spanish has a simple vowel system compared to English helps the teacher anticipate that Spanish speakers might struggle with distinguishing between sheep and ship, or bat and bat. Error analysis shows that many Chinese learners omit articles a, and the because their native language doesn't use them. The English teacher can then dedicate specific lessons to article usage when teaching Chinese learners. So linguistics helps teachers design effective teaching materials and tests as well. Let me move on to cultural understanding. An understanding of linguistics facilitates cultural understanding simply because language is deeply intertwined with culture. Linguistics offers insights into diverse conceptualizations of the world that help to bridge cultural divide, foster cross-cultural understanding, reduce misunderstandings, and promote empathy in communication between cultures. I've taken the example from sociolinguistics. There is the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which is a theory of linguistic relativity that suggests that language influences thought. Understanding this theory through sociolinguistics helps linguists to explain why people from different cultural backgrounds might interpret the same reality in different ways. So let's say now you have an understanding of linguistics through sociolinguistics and through the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Learning the hypothesis and understanding the theory can help you to understand why people from different cultures see something in different ways. For example, time. Some languages like English have a strong emphasis on time, and it is marked with the tense, using the inflectional tense system like present tense, I walk, past tense, I walked, and future tense, I will walk. So English has got the suffix and the auxiliary verbs. Other languages like Mandarin Chinese express time differently. They use adverbials and they use context markers. Time adverbials like yesterday, tomorrow, now are words that they use to indicate time. They also use particles that indicate the nature of the action, whether the action is completed, ongoing, habitual, or experienced. So understanding how languages see time differently, we will be able to understand varying levels of urgency and planning. If you are in the Chinese culture, how do they focus on past, present, and future in communication, and how this affects urgency and planning? So understanding how different cultures see how they see the reality differently through language. They see it differently through the analysis of language. We can see how they perceive reality differently, and this helps with cultural understanding. I have another example here with color. With regard to the color white, the cultural meaning and symbolism are different. For instance, in many Western cultures, white is strongly associated with purity, innocence, and new beginnings, which is why the traditional color of wedding dresses are often white. The color of peace, the white flag, and cleanliness is also white, for instance, in hospitals. But in many Asian cultures, white is different. It is mourning, death, and sorrow. That is what it signifies. So in countries like China, Korea, and Vietnam, you see white clothing worn at funerals, symbolizing grief and the soul's return to simplicity. So this difference is also showing that we need to be sensitive to different realities so that we have better respect between cultures, and this can avoid misunderstandings. With regard to culture, there's also linguistic nuance in vocabulary. While English has a single term for white, some languages have multiple words for the color white, distinguishing the different shades of the color. For instance, in languages like Inuit or Japanese, they have different vocabulary for different types of white, such as the white of snow, the white of milk, white of pearl, and the white of star are actually different words. This suggests that speakers of these languages might pay closer attention to make finer distinctions between shades of white than a native English speaker would. This means that for the English native speaker, the language doesn't train them to categorize these subtle variations in the same way. So in cross-cultural communication, linguistics helps us understand that people from different cultural backgrounds may interpret the same reality in different ways, and we need to be sensitive to these differences so as to improve cultural understanding and reduce misunderstandings. So what I've done in this video is I've highlighted here in red, linguistics contributes to enhancing communication. by improving our communication, helping us to improve our communication skills. Linguistics facilitates language teaching and language learning. And linguistics facilitates cultural understanding, all of which enhances communication. In subsequent videos, I will do numbers 2, 3, and 4. Okay, in this video, only number 1 is covered. And I will conclude this video by emphasizing again that linguistics enhances communication by providing a deeper understanding of how language works, how we learn language, how we use language, and how language can be a source of misunderstanding in different cultures. Through linguistics, we understand language use better and can become more effective communicators and better interpret the messages of others. So, linguistics is worthwhile a study. Thank you. These are my references. Thank you for being here with me. Please do like my videos and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to your comments and your feedback to help me improve my work. Thank you. Take care and keep safe.